audience, but there are some new ones as well. So just briefly, prior to us starting, I'm just going to introduce a little bit about the technology and kind of how we typically work within these operating facilities, and then we'll pass over to the experts for some real insights. So, Greyparrot essentially operate an RGB sensor technology. We work down at looking at conveyors, and we use computer vision to firstly identify the material types that are on the belt. But then importantly, we extrapolate everything out to weight. And that provides a running mass balance of everything that comes underneath that analyzer. And this allows us to pick out the key performance indicators of these facilities to help the everyday operation perform at its best. So that looks like reducing downtime as well as increasing purity on the back end. And also looking at residue loss in order to make sure that we're not losing valuable commodities. And everything is then pushed out to these dashboards that allows the different stakeholders across the business to then understand the information that's coming from the site and provides this central source of truth for everybody within the facility. And then we feed back in real time so that actions can be taken much faster, and ultimately recovery rates can be increased. This is the RGB sensor technology in action. And really it's all about allowing people to have the information they need to make better decisions. Ultimately what can't be measured can't be improved. And it's all around giving people the tools to operate at their best. So we've got a couple of people here today to discuss this with you. And first of all, Jody, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Jody Sherritt. I'm the Operations Director for Cheshire West Recycling. We're a council-owned company, service about 168,000 households. So we began our journey with Greyparrot literally at this place a year ago when we came in, walked around and thought, that's fantastic. So it's something you can put in quite quickly. I think that's quite important, and we integrate it fully into our business now. So we are, I would say, a data-driven organisation. We do things a little bit differently. We don't see ourselves as a waste company. I see us as a logistics operation. Essentially, we're just Amazon in reverse. We're just picking packages up from people's houses and using them that way, and we treat it that way. So we've learned a lot from HelloFresh, Amazon, things like that around actually how we operate from a more of a logistics base. I think for us, the Greyparrot technology adds that to us. We operate a small MRF just to process our materials. Like it says there, we're not massive. It processes about 40,000 tonnes a year of material annually, but within there, that means it's quite important that we look at optimising the productivity of that plant. And also, because we service residents for recycling materials, it's that bit of how we can deal with contamination, improve materials, do engagement. And we could talk about that a little bit later on, but they're all the sort of things, it's that balance between operating for efficiency of the plant and our role as a council-owned company to actually help behavioural change with residents. So we see full end-to-end of the spectrum from that side.
All right, thanks, Jody. And then moving on to Fabian from the KSI plant in the Netherlands.
Hello all. I'm Fabian, mayor from KSI. We process plastic about 55 kilotons a year. We do that 24/7, all days of the year. And 3 years ago, I met Matthew, or the Greyparrot people at the IFA in Munich. We're actually a small stand, and we said probably we could do something with it. So we made an agreement. Matthew visited us, and we started to have the scanner on our residue line. We work for the government. We have penalties when we do not have our outcoming streams on specified quality. We have over 10 different types of material at the end of our process. So that's why we said we should start at the residue, then we know what we're losing. And now we know we did. The good thing of the Greyparrot is that we can see it directly. Normally it takes approximately a week before our quality department can tell us how many material we lose in the residue, since the residue is the biggest stream and it has the biggest penalty. So far it's very important to know what we're doing. We can change the settings of the machine during the process. So that saves us approximately 10% material that we could recover, because we know on which machines we should do an adjustment to increase productivity. That's in brief how we met and what the status is at this moment. At this moment, we have 7 units in our facility, and we still need 3 more. Then we have all our outgoing streams covered by Greyparrot cameras, and then we can recalculate completely back to the in-feed. And that will be very convenient, because then we can prove to the people that companies that bring the material, if you bring bad material, the result will also be comparable to what you bring. So at this moment, it needs a lot of manual analyzing, and we hope to replace that soon.
Amazing, thanks. So it's 2 quite different operations from different countries. So I guess to kick things off then, I'd really like to hear more about how this technology has impacted your daily operations. Jody, if you want to go first.
Yeah, it's probably a good place to start. It's I think for us, one of the main goals is making sure that we're running the plant in a productive way is a big one for us. And it's a bit different to yourself, and the fact that you're running a plant 24/7. We're obviously running a dual shift system, but for us, we have a plant whereby material volumes that come into us, because we have one customer, which is a council's contract, varies month on month quite drastically. And actually, we don't have extra feedstock to drop in, because in reality, it'd be very hard to go out to the market and source stuff and turn it on and turn it off and turn it on. So actually, what we're using it a lot more for is that idea of dealing with. So we range from 600 to 900 tons, depending on what month it is. I can't just turn on and off staff. We've committed as a council and company with social value. We don't use agency at all. We're the first waste provider in the country who does not use agency on our collection service or any part of our operation. That makes it a challenge. You can't turn on and off staff. We want to give security to staff. So what we then want to be able to do is align what's coming through the plant with the staffing resource, and then that gives us the ability to add flex to the rest of the operation. So for us, I now know I need to provide extra leave at certain times a year. I can know that I need to run the plant. I can stop the plant a day a week, for example, if I know I'm ahead on material flows, or I could decide that I've got an area that I know is low quality material, because in reality, we're analysing everything. So we know what every round looks like all the time. So I can up staff and drop staff dependent on whether it's high contamination, low contamination. So I move from 2 pickers to 3 pickers to 4 pickers. And I can make sure that I fill the contaminated loads into the plant on the days when I've got less material flow coming in. So it's about fully optimising that, which is a big one for us. And the other one's around sort of belt fill. The belt's been running all day and your machine tells you it's running. It doesn't mean there's any material on it. And that's quite a big one for us. Some of my ops staff would go to this decision about, they think they'd won because they've saved a head on the yard that day. But when you've looked at the belt, an hour or 2 hours of it has been spent empty because you're head free on the yard, you haven't been keeping the hopper full, which means the belt's running empty, and I've got 4 pickers stood around doing nothing, and none of them are going to put their hands up and go, please load more material into the plant. So it means that actually we can be much better at monitoring that, and we use the alert system and the Parrot to navigate our supervisors to make sure that actually we aren't losing productivity. Because one of the big things is we pay local living wage, we make sure we pay the staff a good wage, but our principle is I won't apologise for productivity. So actually, I'll pay them a good wage, but I expect them to be doing the job I'm expecting them to do. And that's how we've been able to justify sort of the terms and conditions and the rates of our staff around the fact that actually we maximise their productivity. So they're probably some good examples for us, and particularly how as a council company, you can use it to support wider social value things that we're looking to achieve within the organisation.
Yeah, interesting. So, like, to sum up, really, it's around kind of optimization of your people on site, making sure that you're getting that throughput through the plant, and doing that as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, it's throughput through the plant, and also making sure that you make decisions based on the data. So actually, we're looking at the moment that the plant's running faster than I've modelled it to run. But if I make the plant slower, will the material get any better? Because if it doesn't, I'll keep running the plant faster. So I wouldn't have known that before, because I'd have just been looking at the belt. Whereas now in reality, I can look at it and go, actually, if I've knocked the belt down, I've moved our throughput to 3 tonnes an hour from 4 tonnes an hour. If I've made no difference to the quality, it can go back up to 4 tonnes an hour. And what I'll do is I'll either distribute the staff onto other loads or get more material in. So you can make those decisions on that as well. So I think the bit that does get us, the bit that is interesting for us is I can redistribute the staff amongst the business. And I know it'd be a bit, you would approach it in a different way, you would fill with more work, and that is one thing we could do. But as a little provider, you can't quite do that in the same way as a big provider could. So we're doing it a different way, but it's the same principles. You're just looking at optimizing it. No one ever sits around doing nothing. I will just redistribute them onto rounds to allow more holiday, which means I can cut overtime. So it just means that I'm moving more pieces on the jigsaw because of the data I've got.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And Fabian, your operation is so different. I mean, how have you seen that impact with your operation?
With the operation, unlike Jody mentioned, we do have enough material, and if we can also get more if necessary. So for us, it's very important that we're running 24/7 without any delay. It won't be a surprise to you all. We do have to do some maintenance and some cleaning. So our story is to have as maximal running hours as possible. So in that case, it's for us very interesting to have a close look at the dashboard. And our operators now really look at the trend lines. Why? When we see the quality going down very slowly, gradually, then it is very likely that the cameras of our NER systems are getting contaminated. It's a slowly drop in quality. When there is a rapid drop in quality, that's likely some of the lights are defect or the valves are defect. So we are looking more at how the trend lines are proceeding in time, what we should do. We have our maintenance crew looking at that. We have our people looking at it to optimize maintenance, because we can tell what's going on online. That's really, really big benefit. So we can have more uptime. We increased, I think, from 76 to 79% uptime all times. That saves a lot of costs. We can also see if one of the qualities has not enough material, there is probably a blockage. If you can take away the blockage before it really is blocked, it saves a lot of time. And in that perspective, all our personnel is really keen on watching the screen, just embrace the Greyparrot system, because it saves them labor. It saves them to put on the gloves and take the blockage out. So in that case, it's really the screen is always on in our control room.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, both of there's this common theme around how kind of teams interact with the technology, and for us, we see this tech as being like a co-pilot for people on site to really enable them to do their best work, right? So, how have you seen that implementation within your team? What's been the feedback like?
We started to implement with one guy who is on the shop floor, one of our younger operators who is really interested in technique. Our idea was to make him influence the rest of the team. So this guy had a lot of contact with the people from Greyparrot. Even when he had a day off, he still was at home online joining this meeting, and he constantly tested it. So the Greyparrot says if the quality is 89%, then he sent in that moment material to the quality department, and then he checked it. And he constantly gave the feedback to the people of Greyparrot. You're a little bit off in the patch rates, a little bit too high or too low. In that case, there was constantly an adjustment and fine-tuning of the system. And finally, it's like oil on water. Then other groups also said, why are you doing like that? Yeah, it saves work, because now I can see in the screen and I don't have to wait for the quality department. So more and more people got involved, but from the shop floor, I think if you really want to use the system, then you should sell it as a beneficial system for your people who work on the line.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And as we've learned, obviously you've had the analyzers in for nearly 3 years. Have you got any thoughts yourself around how you plan to implement that with your team, Jody?
Yeah. I think for us, like I say, the analyzers, we're relatively early on the journey, really, in terms of what we're doing. I think for us, there's some exciting opportunities for us to use it further, particularly around resident engagement and communication and stuff like that, because actually we can analyse the material coming through at a local level and decide, and we do every vehicle and every area and every round on a periodic basis, which means I can pull contamination rates and other things. So there's obviously potential, particularly with EPR and things like that, around actually, if I'm not getting the metals or the glass or something else, I could engage with the providers potentially and leverage some funding from those manufacturers to go, could we run a metals campaign? Because I can tell you exactly what it does to our material flows, which actually is what these providers love, because I like data and like information. It's not just I think it might put tonnage up. So that's one. I think that's one that people are definitely looking at getting more engaged in. And then equally some of the things around the staff, around engaging better with some of the staff at that level and helping them understand that we can make their life a bit better, because they get a bit frustrated when they go out on the round, pick up the bins, it's a load of rubbish, it never gets any better, they reject stuff. Actually it gives us the ability to go, look, we are getting better, the contamination rates are coming down, people are doing things.
You'd be surprised because the staff at the end of the day, they want to do a good job, they want the materials, they want to help us on the journey. They're just sick of the stickers on going, contamination, it never gets any better. And in a MRF type environment, it's really hard because unless you engage with that area to say there's a problem, they're sticking kettles out. They just assume kettles are fine because you've taken it. Whereas actually we can do targeted campaigns. So we've got a particular problem here, and we've got one battery got a fire again last week, like we all know. We can target that, we can go there, and actually while we're there, we can do more target contamination generally. Because actually we know we have specific problems with electricals from a certain area. Well, actually, let's do a bit more targeted work in that area, because obviously the staff find that quite frustrating. So it's a level of data and insight that you can leverage. And we're really just at the start of that journey. It's definitely something we can do more with as we progress over time.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I guess there's this common theme about people seeing the impact of their work, right? Almost like gamification, where we can really see the impact. We're almost more driven to drive an impact. I mean, you mentioned regulation. How do you think the technology can impact regulation? It's obviously very different between the two countries. There's a lot of common themes there. You want to pick that up first, John?
I mean, for us, one of the big ones, everyone has sampling requirements on the MRFs is very onerous. I think we're using it to try and get through that at the moment and try and get to the stage where we have analyzers on the baling line and we have analyzers on the pre and post pick lines. It's a bit of a challenge for us because design for the MRFs, the glass gets removed before the analyzer, and there's not really anywhere to put it. I think for yourself, the main advantage will come from new plant build designed to work with parrots, because that's game changing different. But we've used it in a way we can use it, and that is really useful. I think that increasingly will be a big one for us. I think getting down to the level of full transparency is really interesting. My dream is that as I bail a material, I can stick a sticker on top of it that says its exact composition, purely because from a duty of care point of view of material, it's the right thing to do. But equally, if I can say the percentage of PET versus this versus something else, I can say to a plastic provider, I want paying a different rate, please, because actually I've got more materials, because they already work. So that's part of the journey, really. So part of it's that regulation, but it's just the idea of, as a provider, you should really know what's going through and out the door, and actually you have a rough idea, but we want to get to the stage where I can tell you everything that's coming in and out the door at a granular level, and that's got value from a financial and a regulatory point of view equally, I think, as we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this idea of increased traceability is so important for the sector. I mean, it operates in a very different way in the Netherlands. What is your thoughts around how this might interact with the regulations?
Yeah, actually, it's more or less similar to what Jody is telling. Our dream is also to know exactly what's in the bale. At this moment, we just need to produce on spec. It's we can do better, but at the moment, specification is just it, and then we receive our fee. But I think in the near future, there will be a demand on specification for certain plants who can recycle our material, and then it is very important that you can fulfill their requirements and have a better price, like you talk about. At this moment, we are starting up a project to be able to use the Greyparrot data in an official way to our regulator, to our governmental check. We have to fulfill a certain analysis every month. That's manual labor. Over 4 people are busy a whole week doing that. And if we can do it with the Greyparrot, and for certain streams we are really on target, so we can. And now we have to prove, together with Matt and his team, that we are also allowed to do so. So that's a long trip. The governmental people are not so fast, let's say it like that. So I think it's the same at your side, if we can do it in a good way and have a good story around it, that we do a check and we have really, this is the truth, and I think we will have it in place within short notice, and short notice is 1 year, maybe 2 years.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of similarities between the markets. Ultimately, we want to understand the flow between the sites and how that then flows through the entire system, right? And the needs of the sites actually directly represent the needs of the regulators. There's a lot of opportunity there to replicate what we've done in the UK across in the Netherlands. So before we move to some questions from the audience, have you got a couple of minutes to just talk about any advice you would have for operators thinking about taking up this technology?
Yeah, I think for us it's not only analyzing equipment. The waste management business is not so really sexy. We have an average high average age, people working at our facility. We need something to keep the younger people employed at our site. By doing this, we have something new. Everybody knows about AI. We use it also to attract younger people working at our facility. They are really eager and they want to work at our facility because there are new things. It's rather old-fashioned, I think.
No.
And now we're starting up doing new things which are in the news. AI is in the news. So in this way, it has nothing to do with the analyzing material, but it has to do with a new way of working, having new people start a new way of having a look at quality.
And I think for us, one of the big ones about it is around smart business decisions. The analyzer, I think I could be losing up to 100 grand in the aluminium into the plastic line. I could have done small sampling, but that's based on true samples of it, just from, and I think I need a new eddy current separator. Now, 100 grand investment decision is a hard thing for a counselling company to do, but actually, it's an absolute no-brainer because I can literally pull out the data and go,
you have the data available.
There is
now.
£100,000 worth of aluminium there that basically the plastic processor ain't going to tell me about because he's making his money out of it. So it allows that, whether you're CETA or whether you're a counselling company, the data is the data, and ultimately, to be fair, the council said if it's a business decision that's got payback, they're happy to fund it. But what they find is a lot of the time people come with ideas and no data, whereas I can go, literally, it is there, I can see it. And I think that's what this really helps.
Definitely.
Yeah, interesting points there. So kind of bringing more people into the businesses with like different mindsets, and also the use of it kind of build business cases. Really interesting stuff. So we've got 5 minutes left. If there's any questions from the audience at all? Anybody got any burning questions? Me. Fantastic. Yeah, use my mic.
Hi, if you're able to say, what is the sort of average uplift in prices you're able to obtain for your output before Greyparrot and after Greyparrot?
Yeah, I think for us, it's the direct under, it hasn't actually ironically pushed up the price at the moment because all essentially you're doing is using it to basically drill out the contamination rates and put them in the right places. So as we've got to at the moment, I am now having a discussion with a plastic reprocessor, for example, to say, right, here is the detail of what is in that bale, and they're conversations that are happening with them. So as we are looking at proving quality of materials, we're able to go to new processors and go, here is, normally they'll take your sample away, come back to you in a week. When we have the meeting, we use a broker to trade our materials with us. The broker will use that data and go to 5 plastic reprocessors and go, look, here's 3 months worth of data. That assurance does, I think at the moment, what the assurance has done is stop the price coming down, whereas we're all seeing challenges in plastic and challenges in other materials. The same with aluminium. They can see the purity of that bale, and it means we've kept the price up rather than see it come down. So ironically, in the way the world is with material prices, we haven't seen it go up, but I think we've probably seen it come down less than other people because we can generate priority sampling.
Yeah, it's the same at our place. It's not directly in the quality, but the sorting is better. So we have we have more to sell.
Yeah, that's probably a good point.
Any other questions? No, fantastic. Any last thoughts from either of you about what would be going steps?
No, like I said, there really is a huge amount of scope, and it really is quite early on the journey to do it. I think the main advantage, I'd say, is engaging with yourselves early on in plant design, because one of the problems we find is our plant is designed, it doesn't get material flat enough at certain points, so the baling process, it just opens a bunker door and it's dead deep because it never needed to be analysed. If I wanted to analyse, I'd put a belt in there to spread the material, and it wouldn't cost much at the time, but to retrofit now it would. So the big one really is, I think this will become more commonplace as part of a large-scale plant design. Because like I say, I've got 3 analysers, I'd like lots more analysers. The design, being a council, it's a pretty tiny MRF and we squeezed everything in. In hindsight, it would have been worth the investment in longer belts and the thing. It would have paid itself back 10 times. Do that now, so it's that one. If you're thinking about it, build this into your design. Is probably my thought from that. So.
Yeah, you raised an interesting point there around how this can kind of be used in the future as well.
Yeah.
Could you speak a little bit around any of your future plans?
Yeah, I think for us, it's very much looking at again that issue I was talking earlier about optimising how we use staff. But equally, one of the main ones for us is that we're very keen to reconnect the people who use our service with the waste service, rather than they split the materials out, they don't know where they go, they're not really interested in it. You can complete the journey, and I know at the moment there's a lot of emphasis on some of your providers who are having to pay into EPR funding. They want to get reconnected to the customer from that level. I think this can do that by actually saying, right, let's talk to that community about what waste they produce and what they don't do, and it can do that because I can get it down to that sort of level, and it's really simple. So I think from a behavioural change piece, that's quite powerful. It's something I've worked in comms a long time, and it's something that's always been really hard because you just stick a standard leaflet through. Whereas I could go, actually, based on demographics, they should be producing more aluminium than they are. So, by the way, aluminium can produce it. Can I have some money? And I'll try and get you some pounds out of that, and hopefully I can look. And I think the aluminium providers, they need that because they need to demonstrate that they are doing something to divert their product from waste. So I think there's definitely a connection there with RAP and with the retailers to have proper conversations with the community.
Absolutely. And Fabian, to close out, what are your future plans?
Yeah, I think it's like your car. You can drive to work every day and that's fine, but you can do so much more. If you compare it to the Greyparrot system, you can analyze the material, but you can also adjust your machinery on it. So in the near future, we will have our wind shifters take out more film because the Greyparrot tells it to. I think that's the way. You can use it in several ways, but you have to find your own possibilities. They are endless, but you have to implement it, I think, with your team, with a team, and then you have the result. I think that's the conclusion. Have so many possibilities, as you say, Judy. We are on the beginning of a journey, but we have really future plans by doing more autonomous steering of the factory.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for your inputs there. It was really, really helpful. And thanks to all of you for listening. If you need any more information, our standards just over that way. If you'd like to come and have a chat, always happy to chat with you. So, thank you. See you soon.